All right. Welcome to News from the Pew, and take the news from around the interwebs and distill it to make it slightly less frightening. I am your host, Rick Barrett, and I am joined again by my wonderful panel. We have Mr. Jonathan Arrington coming to us from the great state of Georgia. We have Fawaz Yazi coming to us from the great state of Kentucky. And we have Steve Cunningham. So, gentlemen, let's get to our first story here. And I pushed. We all agree that it's the most important story. Apple had its celebration of it smelling its own flatulence and how great it is, and they're updating new products and all these other things. And it was pretty standard until the release of this product. And once you see it, you'll see why we're leading off with it. Take a look.
You're nothing but a dreamer. Well, can you put your hands in your head? Oh no, I said dreamer. You say you are a dreamer. Well, can you put your hands in your head? Oh no, I said fudge. Wanna take for you, hey ladies. Oh no, well you know you have it coming to you. I miss you so much. Toast.
That's it. For $3,400, you can be a part of this new brave new world. I have thoughts on it, but I want to get to everybody else. John, your impressions at seeing the best version of virtual reality technology being presented to us. We've seen other versions, Facebook and others, and it was kind of laughed off. This one seems like it's the first one that actually may go mainstream.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the kind of scientific part of it, I don't really have many thoughts because I just don't know enough about it. I haven't had time to really dive deep into it. But I would just say kind of on the philosophical or theological side of it, it makes so much sense because, when you've disconnected yourself from reality and you're not, your goal in life is to not content yourself with what reality is and try to learn to live according to reality. Then inevitably what happens is you got to try to find some sort of novelty to keep your curiosity tickled, your ears tickled as often as possible. And, as incredible as I just look back on it as a kid, growing up in the 80s, and you think like, how did we get to here? I mean, I was asking myself this in like the early 2000s, how did we get to, cell phones? Like I'm a 20-year-old and I got a cell phone. I can flip out a phone and call somebody, in the early 2000s. But how did we get to where we are now? Like, even just thinking back 15 years ago, before maybe smartphones were all in every hand, it's incredible to think about that. But then inevitably it's going to get old, for people who just have to have their desires, fulfilled day after day on this sensual level. So I'm kind of surprised it's taken this long to come out with something new, because we've been more or less in the same phase of, I guess you'd say, technology for the last few years. I don't feel like any huge steps forward until the big AI push, and now this. So from Apple. So I don't know. It's kind of inevitably where we were headed, and looks like we're kind of getting that part of it. So scary, but par for the course as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole idea that we're gonna have this functioning system, Fawaz, and when you look at it, if you're going to look at it, because John's completely correct. Cell phones have plateaued. Laptops have plateaued.
Yeah.
They tried the 3D TV. That didn't take off. Yet now they have this system from Apple. And when you actually get into the stuff, was about how it's going to use your eyes. It's going to base your eye movement and how it tracks for certain advertising. It's going to use your hands to manipulate these things. It is the complete and total removal of the individual from the actual physical world and putting them into literally whatever they want, like John was talking about, to satiate whatever desire they're looking for.
Yeah, you guys are both correct. It's good to be with you guys again. Sorry I missed last week. A couple of things. Number one, you're absolutely right, Jonathan and Rick. The human desire is a certain desire. I mean, from the lowest appetites of hunger, it's always to fulfill a certain thing. And one of the worst things that we've seen here is in the concupiscible appetite. It's never going to be satisfied into a degree. The only thing that can satisfy us completely is God, and we know this because Saint St. Augustine speaks about this as well. But that is when the flesh can never be fulfilled. It's a monster that will always eat and will always want more. Not only that, but always want more newer things. This is why somebody who's an addict against things that are in the 6th and 9th commandment, they're never going to be satisfied with magazines. It's always going to be things that are going to continue to rise and rise until the will is corrupted. Now, what's funny about that commercial is they made it look so appealing because, if I remember correctly, this is what they want, but these guys are living in high-rise apartments and not pods, because that's actually what's going to happen. You're going to be removed completely from reality, put in a pod, eating the bugs, and that's going to be your reality now. Your 15-minute cities, you get to see your friends only in a visual sense. And, people talk about the illumination of conscience and, whether it's true or it's not true, if it's real or not. I'm not debating that. I don't know enough. I don't know if the mystics got it or not. But what I'm saying this, eventually God is going to have to intervene because reason will not work anymore. You're not going to be able to reason with folks anymore. We've seen this with the alphabet community, especially with the letter T. They go out in the streets. They're incapable of having a conversation. They're emotional children. You put this in front of them now, there goes the will. There goes the intellect. The passions are dead. They're literally dead to themselves. And one last point is God is going to have to intervene. But before he does, I think sometimes he allows these things to happen, and for greater reason. Because if you look at what God did, it's the beginning of time. He looked at, before he created the universe, he looked at all the possibilities of combining free will of man and his creation, and he says, "This is the universe that's going to save the most souls as possibly can be saved in cooperation with man's will." So, if you look at what's happening, the devil is really mimicking God in every aspect of it. And the one thing that he has always wanted to do is create things under his image and likeness. And he's able, with his little minions like Noah and the Schwabs and the Gates all out there, what they're really trying to do is trying to bring together the creation of God, which is man, and their creation of technology and make them their image and likeness. And that is a very scary thing for our children in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So Steve, not only is we've addressed the social stuff as well, but this is where the next economy is going, right? This is where everything's being filtered into, where your social credit scores and digital money and all these other things. Why would you need to leave your house, right? Because all of these things will be happening there. And you and I were talking about it off air that, $3,500. It's a lot of money up front. I wouldn't worry within it's 20, by 2025, 2026, you're going to be the weird one if you don't have it.
Yeah, everyone, their brother's going to have this. I'll bring up an article from Vox, which is not a friendly group at any means. But they mentioned that first off, let's see, where was it? It talks about the two different technologies that do it, VR and regular. I lost. I had to highlight it, but it ended up going off. $3,000 to make will cost about $3,000. Make the wearer look extremely uncool, and with a utility that is completely theoretical. Remember, also, it's going to be made by slaves, so you get slave labor attached to this thing. They'll probably want to get paid more, obviously. They also bring up that reports suggest that even Apple executives aren't fully on board with this launch. And to be fair, that's because it's the price, $3,000 a pop. They think the initial buyers will be developers, hobbyists, and Apple super fans. So, like the people that go to, hey, there's a new iPhone, and we're going to camp outside the Apple store for a week tailgating to get the new iPhone. So they'll be those guys when this thing comes out, and you'll see some people walking around. You see them that earbuds. Everyone's got earbuds. I remember a buddy of mine, well, a former buddy of mine. He used to be my bartender about 15 years ago, and following Catholic. He remembered Fatima, but he didn't care about it. But he knows the story. He thinks he's a monkey. Really, I mean, he once swung from a vine and fell because he's not a monkey and broke his arm. But and he couldn't figure out that he couldn't swing, but he says he's still a monkey. Anyways, he used to tell people that back, this is 15, 20 years ago, if they had the thing in their ears from just a was it crack apple, the blueberry, or was it the blackberries, the crackberries? He would go, man, you are not that important. And just the other day, you can see it all the time. People walking around with earphones in their ears, thinking they need to have a call. Right when I have to click, I mean, what are you on call? You an OR doc? You doing surgery? You trauma? What? No, it's just waiting for a text to come in or disconnect. It goes into transhumanism, which even the transgender thing is, in sense, a transhumanism thing. You're changing your person as for us, we're playing God. So we're playing God on gender. We're dismantling ourselves, cutting each other off, cutting our parts off to change anything else. We're creating our own foods, lab grown. We're screwing with the air. We're screwing with the ground. We're screwing with the water. We're messing with DNA. Somebody's blind. Jamie Foxx. We're trying not to say anything because you can get still cut off from there. He's done because he had to take that to work on a set with Cameron Diaz. Screwed up his DNA along with that, and how many people have dropped over that? Now we're just so, like, someone brought up Jarvis. Literally, I remember I was driving for Uber one time, and I had 3 tech people in the car, and they were talking about having to be able to drive and have that in your windshield to be able to, if somebody called, I'd pop up in your windshield. They were developing, and I go, just for the peanut gallery that's actually driving this vehicle, let me tell you how dumb of an idea that is, because that's distractions all over the place, and I'm having a tough enough time trying not to get killed and kill you guys with all these cars around that I don't care about who's calling me, and let me check out the game on the windshield and all that. It's people have these great ideas. You saw the commercial. There was there was a TV show in England when she wanted to be uploaded into the cloud, and she gave her body the science, and she was able to blink her eyes, and she took a photo and then went like that and sent it to their thing. And people literally talk about this. That's all part of the WEF. They have it on their videos. Go to their website and check out the videos on that. Yeah, Mr. Grumpy, I did, because this was I was losing nature. I was instead of trying
you have
to
succumb to it, buddy. You have to succumb to it.
Jump on Ballhead Island and just cut it off. The wife was pushing me to do it too. And
one of us.
It's one of those. I told my barber, I said, I'm just going to keep going just because it's ticking her off. I'm just going to keep, because I don't notice it, but behind me, people were noticing. It's like, I don't care. So why not? Here's a clip. That's a movie down below, and that's reality on top. What, Blade Runner?
No, it's Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
Yep.
movie guy knows.
Yeah, right. Useless information. Yeah, folks. The tactile suit, all that kind of stuff. I know somebody said that I think Alex was saying he doesn't think it's gonna catch on. Maybe, brother. I hope. But stuff like this has a way of catching.
Yeah. Well, there was actually a conference going on right now on this topic.
State what we're facing. So in the US and Canada, 1920s, 1930s, all the way up till early 1950s, you had this movement called technocracy, which is part of progressive.
This is Derek Brose of The Last American Vagabond, if you want to look him up. He's a great researcher. He's also running for the mayor of Houston. Think locally, act locally. He's trying to go to Houston and change the culture there. Well, change the government there because, hey,
Well,
that's how you
I'll
do it.
illegally vote for him 3 times then. Heck yeah.
Politics at the
There you
time.
go.
You had the Great Depression, and all different thinkers were trying to figure out what's the next step. You know, the economy's not working, people are losing money, people are really hurting. And there were some thinkers who said, you know what, the politicians, they're too stupid to figure it out. Not only that, the people are too stupid to figure it out. What we need is a group of elite scientific and technological experts to manage society, what is sometimes referred to as the technate. And this would be run by a technocratic king. And this technocracy, they were describing early computers back then. They didn't quite have the terminology, but everything we're seeing today is what they were predicting. They were imagining that through AI, computers, etc., that they could get a scope of the entire planet, and they would know how to micromanage all of society. And they could say, this neighborhood should have this much food, this neighborhood should have this much food and these resources, and it would be a perfect, great world. It would be a utopia, right? They tell us. And the idea did catch on for some time. There was parties dedicated to it in the US and Canada, and I think even parts of Europe caught on a little bit. Interesting fact, Elon Musk's grandfather was part of the Social Credit Party in Canada, was part of the technocracy movement. And these ideas they had their moment, and they were growing. There's some books about it, which I reference in my book, which I think are worth knowing about it because they give you some insight. The ideas, we're told, essentially fell out of favor and disappeared to the dustbin of history. But the reality is that these ideas have been guiding politics behind the scenes for almost 100 years now. And more of us are aware of this. But when you start to look at, for example, COVID-19, we're going to get into in just a second, COVID-19, trust the experts. That itself is a technocratic mindset. The people, we don't know what's best. We should just trust the experts, the scientific and technological experts, to tell us what's right.
I often hear that many people are surprised or baffled that we see this technocratic, transhumanist ideology seizing control of society. But I'm not surprised at all. I think it's perfectly normal. As soon as you start from a materialist view on man and the world, which believes that the universe is a big machine and the human being a small machine, a cog in the machine, then it's perfectly logical to conclude that society should be governed not by democratically elected politicians, but by a kind of engineer expert.
This gentleman needs lessons in projecting his voice.
Even with a microphone, yes.
Right. People to repair the machine when there is something.
So, I mean, it's basically an elite group running things, the technocrats. Just imagine, it's basically communist social, everything rolled into one. Everything that you didn't like in the past, all being there, and throw in some electricity behind it. And then it gets weirder after that. I mean, Elon, how many monkey animals were killed by his implant neurochip thing? Stuff like this, how many humans are going to have to die because of stuff like this? And it will catch on. You're going to have people all over. You're going to be the crazy one living in reality. And reality is going to be that, what was that movie with the Bruce Willis when he gets up and he puts his thing on and his clone goes out the door and goes,
is it The Fifth Element?
No. That was
his clone.
Yeah. It was a clone of him. It was like his Country. Yeah, that was Matthias Desmond. It was, I can't remember, it was not Cyborg, not something like this, but it was a robot of him. and it would be controlled by Bruce in his home, in his living room. He never left the house.
Oh,
We got used to doing that, and it would just interact with others like that. And there's so many. No, it wasn't 12 months. I'll look it up when someone else is yapping and tell you what it was. It was about a decade ago movie, but stuff like that, it's going to get worse. It's going to get weirder. You're not going to be able to, just like Father and I were talking about this yesterday. We did a podcast on what Father R didn't say, episode 3 in season 1. We'll have it up. I'll have it up next day or two. And, we got AI. There's an AI program I use. You can't tell the difference, really, except the AI isn't a stutterer, I guess you could say. There was that one lady that Candace Owen had, or she talked about this a couple months ago. The AI called the parents, said it was the kid. They needed to help her. He was kidnapped. She was kidnapped. She thought it was real. You're not gonna be able to know what you watch if that's real. Deep fakes, videos, fake audio. It's getting to the point you're not gonna be able to distinguish between reality. And at the point, sometimes you're gonna think, man, why don't you just get that EMP out so we can get back to what's real? That would be bad because it will kill a lot of people. I'm just saying, you're gonna become crazy because you're not gonna know what's real. What happened a couple of years ago? You couldn't distinguish. You're getting told fake things on TV. You're living in reality. But you go outside and you're surrounded by these zombies in a sense. And to save things, you're gonna have these people with goggles on and you can't break away from your work because one thing about cell phones was you give an employee gives the employee a cell phone. You're always working now. You got phone, your emails, you're checking that. There was no clock out at 5 or 6 and go home. Nope, you're getting phone calls, texts, emails, zero recreation, zero prayer. What was that book by Carmel?
We call that the work-life balance.
Balance. How many people check Twitter out before they go to sleep? There's a study out how many people would rather go to sleep looking online on social media than talk to their spouse. The first thing they get up is check out their phone. Messages they got, things like this. A lot of us are guilty of that. And I'm old school. I like smelling a baseball glove. I hate reading books online. I have to have the book. I like the smell of paper. And eventually people love reading the ebooks. So it's just little things like that. It still works, but it takes that reality in a sense. We got to just hold on, conserve what we used to have in a sense. But yeah, there's some good things that are coming out of this. There's going to be good things that WEF talked about in 2020 in a podcast on about the like telehealth stuff, not telehealth like Fawaz and I are talking back and forth about, hey doc, what is my symptoms? Save the travel for gas. Oh, why? You can't drive anywhere. So they're already prepping you for what did OPEC do last week? They took down more $1 million barrels. You're not going to drive. Melbourne, Australia has banned cars in different areas. They're strategically taking away your travel. So when you get this VR thing, you're at the home. You can order whatever through your eyes. You can talk to people through your eyes. You play games inside in your eyes. You don't even get to play everything. You're divorcing humanity from being human with other humans. So you're basically putting yourself in an isolated compartment and you're going to drive yourself bad. I remember one priest, I thought he was nuts at the time, said that the self-checkout aisle was demonic. And I was like, come on, man. You go in, you get it done. I don't need somebody. He was onto something because you're taking away that human element. You can't say hi to somebody else. You can't interact. There's no transaction between. It's just you and a machine.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. The fact that we have become more individualistic in a sense and less communal. And I'll end on this. It's going to absolutely destroy the human race. I know it's a very big thing to end on. But if you think about the parasocial relationship between boys and men and their online female, whatever OnlyFans, Twitter, Instagram, whatever the case may be, they've forsaken. And Fawaz, I think, mentioned this. They don't know how to speak to women or any of these, these interactions that you talking about, Steve. Now imagine the fact that a dude can literally be like, insert favorite female superhero character. Like I want to, they put on their VR headset Wonder Woman. Like now they're on a date with Wonder Woman, right? They don't have
That's been
to.
happening. Yeah.
What?
That's been happening.
Yeah, but it's going to be more mass adopted, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about that, now there's going to be even less incentive for a guy because he can be at home, put on his headset, and just completely immerse himself and never have to worry about any of that ever again.
I wish I'd pull up the article. There's something in China right now, and they were talking exactly this VR dating. Because they don't want to interact with a human. They're scared of germs, whatever. I mean, what's that movie with Stallone?
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. Yeah, just that whole, all right, let's have sex. We'll put on the VR. So, what? And literally, there's articles about people doing that right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, you guys, we're talking about the price of it being $3,400. But imagine how they can sell this. I mean, think about this. You don't longer need a TV. I wonder what the TV companies are going to do now, because the guy was watching a movie on his no TV needed. Don't need a cell phone anymore. Don't have to worry about plan. So you could get rid of all these technologies, laptops, cell phones, TVs. So now that $3,400 doesn't sound too bad if you're not spending money on other stuff. So they can sell
also, Flaws, how many people are running life on credit cards when they're talking about things being too expensive?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I'll bring the church involved. 2 years ago, I was in the Raleigh Catholic Conference, and they had a booth of a VR Catholic Mass.
Oh, man.
Selling the program. And it was literally right after things was opened back up. So you're used to watching online on TV or whatever. And now you got this VR thing. And I wrote them going, you do realize that VR does not mean you're at Mass. But they were promoting, hey, come, you're at your VR character, your whatever avatar was walking down the pews into a pew. It was mind-boggling. It's like we cannot be part of this.
No, we can't accept it in any way. Before we end, John, we've all been talking. You have anything else you want to jump in here with before we move on?
Well, it struck me as you guys were mentioning the different things that even with TVs. I mean, I haven't had one since I moved out of my parents' home, so I don't. It's not like I speak from a lot of experience, but the very fact that TVs became less expensive and that people started having them in their rooms. I mean, TV in your room. Come on, like there's the family TV, and so there's a lot to criticize about spending endless hours on a television, but I mean, I remember some decent times sitting there watching shows, movies, whatever, with my dad and my brother. Some good times. You have some drinks, and you're just there, and you're enjoying each other's company, and you're chatting as you turn down the volume during the commercial or something. So the very fact that TVs become spread throughout all the different rooms and both thinner and wider, it's separated us more from one another, because you basically have your as close to a movie theater experience as the average person could afford already. But now we can't even have, I mean, at least you could fathom watching TV with someone. But this thing is not going to be for two people right beside each other without the headset on. You know what I mean? So it's taking us further and further away from one of the things that Aristotle said we are, and that's a social animal. And even like if you think about one of the other things is Aristotle said that we're risible animals. Like if you laugh now, you're not laughing with somebody else. Now I'm sure this thing's going to pick up when you're laughing, so it'll know what to sell you later on, because you're Homo economicus. You're just the Homo emptor. You're the buying man. That's all you count for. But I mean, you're not going to share a laugh with somebody. It's just it's more and more dystopian the further we get in it.
We're going to forget how to be human.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's it's a lot to try and break down here. So we're going to move on to our next subject here in News from the Pew. So apparently New Yorkers, because New Yorkers are thinking about, themselves, if something happens to them, it's everybody else. I don't know if you've caught this, but there has been an orange hue over the state of New York for the past couple days. And let's take a look. So there's some wildfires in Canada, although I don't know if you've seen any pictures of any wildfires in Canada. I have not, but that's neither here nor there. That has moved this massive cloud that apparently has blanketed the East Coast, and people are freaking out about it, calling for climate change, this, that, and the other thing. Except the West Coast deals with this like once every 3 or 4 years. But it's very interesting how the legacy media has taken this and of course incorporated it into every single narrative that they could. So, John, I don't know how much you've actually followed this because it's really just a New York centric story. Just the thoughts on how it can be used as a distraction, how it can be used to reinforce narratives. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I got a lot more to learn about what's actually going on, but I do have a fair number of friends in New York City who have spoken about this or have, typed about it, chatted about it. So it seems real in some sense. Now, what the cause of it is and whether or not it makes sense for, I mean, I don't know about the scientific aspect of it and kind of the origins part of it, but I bet it would seem pretty apocalyptic having been before in New York City and just you can look up between the skyscrapers and at least see the sky. And I don't know, there's a certain fun to that. If you can't see anything but an orange hue or yellow hue now, I don't know. It seems like it would work well for anybody's motives to get people scared or excited to do just about anything when you got that sort of almost cartoonish color to the sky. So I don't know. There's just too much I don't know about it to really say much more than that intelligently.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just very strange how it's dominating the headlines, Fawaz. How also, let's not discount the fact that it is summer and summer is the slowest of news seasons. So everything will be taken. And the second point is that it's happening in New York. If this was happening in Nebraska, literally no one would care. But it's very interesting to see the comparisons to things like Blade Runner 2034, whatever that movie was, where the entire movie was set in this orange hue and all these other things. It's quite funny how people don't have the ability to adjust to things. Flaws that I'll throw that to you. The fact that they can't adjust to, well, it's a little weird, but that's because there's some fires up there. We'll just kind of move about our day to day. What do they jump straight to? Oh, the world is ending. It's the apocalypse. It's terrible. Oh, we're all gonna die.
Yeah, that's because we live in a very narcissistic society where everything is about us. Not only that, but every prophecy, every mystic, everything that happens when it comes to the end of the world is going to happen to the USA, right? That's what they always think. We are the epicenter of the universe. Give me a break. As a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff that the mystics talked about, it has nothing to do with the US. So, but no, I mean, because I'm looking at, for example, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Kuwait decided to burn a whole bunch of tires, and there was smoke coming up all the satellites. I could see it from from all the way up there, and they were just burning. Like, I don't know about you guys, but the smell of a tire, burning tires is not great. So it's kind of funny because when they're talking about climate change, we all know it's a bunch of baloney. The reason is because these people contradict themselves. They're trying to dim the sun at the same time trying to go solar everywhere. These two things cannot exist at the same time. So it goes to show you how dumb they are. But when it, I thought I thought Anthony was was barbecuing some lobster or something. I don't know what's going on. But here's my thing. When they talk about fires in Canada, right? That's what they're saying. Fires in Canada. Shouldn't we be seeing live footage of fires in Canada? Shouldn't we be seeing? Have you guys seen them? Have you guys seen
Not a
these
one.
so-called fires in Canada? Like, why are we seeing all of the smoke in New York, but no fires from the actual source? So my thing is, there's this thing called the law of perspective, where we could have an idea, a gut feeling, a perspective. Like, for example, like you could walk into a liturgy and something just doesn't sit right with you, and there's something wrong because there's something innately that's wired within us that we can actually perceive things and come up with a conclusion on our own. But like that guy says, don't trust yourself, always trust the experts. We're the ones who tell you what's going on. Don't ever trust yourselves. That is the biggest problem that we have today. Is you got these people who are always screaming, "Where's the source? Where's the source?" Where's my question is, I'm looking at it as far as perspective goes, and my gut feeling tells me, okay, there's all this stuff going on in New York, and there's this hue, this orange, but the fire is supposed to come from Canada, but there's no fires in Canada. I haven't seen pictures, I haven't seen videos. No one's complaining. When I was living in San Diego, I saw fires all the time. We had to evacuate one time. So this could be an act from God that he's going to, sometimes he sends us warnings before he sends us some type of chastisement. But they don't. That's the thing. The devil always wants to have a rational, some rational, I guess you would say, materialistic understanding of all things. Evolution disproves God, so therefore we can have evolution. It's all of these things that are so-called rational and materialistic and have the basic understanding of how everything works. So, what's the easiest way to there's this gigantic thing. It's mysterious. It could be an act from God. I don't know. It could be a fire from Canada, but it could be an act from God. But the question here is what is the media going to do? Oh, we can't have that. We can't have any evidence for God. Let's have a scientific, I guess, so-called rational, materialistic explanation to these things. But we all know that climate change it's a bunch of baloney. Number one, they're giving out 30-year loans and oceanfront properties to these elites. The same people who are crying that the sea levels are going to rise are the same ones who have 30-year loans and oceanfront properties. I mean, how do you make it doesn't make sense? But the average person, because they have to trust the expert on all things, we have to outsource all of our thinking to someone else. They'll just believe it because the guy on the TV said it. The guy on the TV said, there's a UFO that fell into Vegas, and everybody's got cell phones nowadays, and nothing goes unmissed. But all of a sudden, nobody took out their cell phone to catch these 10-foot aliens that all of us are supposed to be seeing. The deception in the end, that Scripture says, will be so great, even the elite will be deceived. And that's my thing. That's my thing. I'm telling you guys right now. Do not stick with the faith. Go out, hang out with your families, cook outside, have a drink, say your prayers, live a normal life, turn off your TV. That's how they want to get us. Don't give them the opportunity to even get this information out to you guys.
Excellent points all around, Fawaz. Well done. As always, Steve, your thoughts on the orange hue of New York?
Just what Fawaz was just talking about towards the end. I mean, the Amish, there's a report out, they were 30 times less affected by the thing that happened a couple years ago, probably because they didn't have TV to be afraid of. And like you said, he lived in California. California burns all the time. Naturally, it's supposed to happen. It helps out forests, makes the nutrients in the ground so that more can grow. But we act like it's, it's 100 degrees. That's why it's doing that.
Well, that's because they actually don't clear out the brush, Steve. They let the brush on the ground in the fires, and they happen.
Mr. President, I just,
It's okay. I know all about fires. It's fine. Keep going.
With Canada, there's this one video out I saw.
All of Southeast Quebec just caught on fire, guys. All of it. Insane.
Down and to the left.
I've seen that they do that. There's also videos like that with weather in the middle of the continent. There you'll see this storm just come up out of the radar there, and all of a sudden this thing. I mean, there are weather modifications going on. We know this. They've said that. Could this be part of that? Don't know. I found this while Fawaz was talking. This was a guy, firefighter.
Hi, folks. I'm a retired forest technologist from the Department of Natural Resources, and I have 29 years' experience fighting forest fires here in Nova Scotia. As things progressed last week and buildings were burning and people were being evacuated, I realized that Nova Scotia had a resource of retired technical staff that were experts at fighting fire. And so I put together a team.
Speaking of which, what about East Palestine? Is that, there's still stuff going on there?
I called some of these guys up and I put together a crack team. And then I immediately notified Natural Resources at Fire Control in Shuby. I contacted a local district supervisor. And they both notified me that the province wouldn't be interested in hiring on any retired staff to do work. So at the same time we were being told that, the Premier was begging for help on every newscast that he could get on. So I started that last Tuesday. And then I fought with the province on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and again on Friday, trying to get our guys put in key positions where they were needed throughout the province. And I got the same answer continually. Thank you, but no thank you. Finally, I got frustrated and went on talk radio on Thursday. And then I got a phone call from Shuby Radio that said, or not Shuby Radio, Shuby Fire Control, that they'd put my name on the list and the name of a few others. It was a polite way to say, look, we know you're making noise. Thank you, but no thank you. We're still not going to hire you guys to come fight fires. So what taxpayers need to understand is while buildings were burning and the province was short-staffed and our government was standing in front of TV cameras saying we're doing everything they can, they lied to your face. They didn't. I could have pulled together a lot more teams of guys, retired guys willing to come out and do this. We were not offering to do frontline hose line fire, but there's for every guy on the line, sometimes there's 3 guys behind the line providing what they need in the way of services. And we were highly trained in both evacuation, all levels of incident command. Personally, I've been incident commander on dozens of different fires and fought fires up to 50,000 acres. And together on the first team I put together, we had close to 200 years of experience of fighting fires here in the Acadia region of Nova Scotia. We have our own particular forests down here that, for example, all the crews that are being shipped in have zero experience fighting fires in an Acadian forest region.
So he goes on for a little bit. I also have breaking news from New York. If you're from New York, Anthony, your great executive there hath spoken. I don't know if you guys have ever you've seen this message before.
This is our old friend. One you never want to see again, perhaps.
Evil.
But this mask can make a difference, not just outdoor, although I did see someone outside running on my way here wearing one of these masks. At least he was wearing a mask. But even indoors, if you have a situation where you don't have air conditioning, you have a situation where you're not feeling good inside, continue to put this on. This will make a big difference for people.
It's back, baby. I know who the culprit is, though. Here's
Canada, brave Canada. It seems that everything's gone wrong since Canada came along. Brave Canada, brave Canada.
They're not even a real country anyway.
I love that line.
it's more likely I'm going to go with another distraction, see what's coming down the pipe. What are you not thinking of? In less than a month, you're going to have Fed Now, the CBDC, start in these United States of home of the free and land of the queers, since everything's about queer theology right now. And you got we're still talking about the Dodgers. So found out, hey, guess who they're playing that day on the day Feast of the Sacred Heart, by the way, the San Francisco Giants. So we got Kershaw said that I'm even more upset about it. I'm going to play though, but thanks. So you're not really doing anything. Kurt Schilling's called out the group, so that was pretty cool. You got old players; they can't do anything though. There's the good thing is people are getting tired about what they're trying to get you focused off of now. I mean, it was a fire, great. No, terrible for the people up in the area. When we have a hurricane, it never really gets news unless it's a Category 5 and or if people are dying. But outside that one little area, people just make it through. So I'm sure there's fires in Canada before. Unfortunately, it's one of those things. We live in a place where nature hits. Florida, you get hurricane insurance. Fire insurance in California. Tornadoes get in the Midlands. So There's always something, natural disasters, but it's all right. They want you to watch this. They want you to talk about this. Oh, it's because of climate change. Of course it is. This never in the history of the world has there ever been a fire before. Biden's talking about, sending stuff up there. Obviously, he was bombing Somalia right now too, by the way. But yeah, it's just that was a big distraction. Is it terrible in New York City? New York City, people in China live with this all the time. I remember getting a guy in Uber. He's talked about, wow, it's blue sky. He's never seen it out there, which goes into the climate thing. Oh yeah, well, if China doesn't do anything, what good is, whatever's going on? And there's a volcano that just went erupted the other day, which someone goes, well, yeah, all you whale humpers that decided to do all this other stuff, it all just got null and voided by this volcano that just erupted here. If we just focus, try to become better and evangelize everyone around us by becoming the greatest people on the planet, as Cardinal Sarah's thing of dictatorship of noise, we incorporate that in our life. Maybe we could change things out, or fire comes. We got protection. Have faith in what's divine providence to help us out.
This stuff's happening in June too, so that could be something there.
Yep, especially since you've seen a united pushback for the first time in over since this whole thing has really been assaulting us. People have really kind of stood their ground and pushed back. I know people are making a big deal out of, oh, well, they changed their Twitter avatars. Yeah, that's great. I think fantastic. Now we're just like the Middle East in June. It's the exact same thing. Nothing changes. But the fact is that more and more people are standing up and saying that, no, we're not doing this here. We're not doing that there. Or you don't need a whole month for this nonsense, or whatever the case may be. So, we have to get people off of Target or Bud Light or whatever company they're trying to it's just the next distraction. Speaking of the next distraction, let's talk about aliens.
Oh yeah, so, was it? Do I have an alien clip?
So,
I didn't know you wanted to do aliens. Let's do aliens.
Hey, freestyle, baby.
Midnight on May 1st, when a Las Vegas Metro police officer's body cam catches this, something flashing low in the sky.
911 emergency.
Minutes later,
there's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Someone calls 911 reporting two large figures in their backyard.
No, I'm so nervous right now.
The 8 News Now investigators obtaining another officer's video as he's sent to the Northwest Valley home.
I have butterflies, bro. Everyone saw a shooting star, then these people say there's aliens in their backyard.
By now, it's more than an hour after that bright light. Officers meeting up with the caller and his family.
What'd you see?
It was like a big creature.
A big creature?
Yeah, like around 10 feet tall.
I'm not going to BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Did you see anything land in your backyard? Or
they see like a big, that's what they say. They see like a big something with light.
What I saw right now, I do believe in it.
Police walk into the backyard to investigate, but Metro blacked out that part of the video because it's considered private property. What's clear, they're taking this call seriously.
Hey, this might sound like a really dumb question, but did you guys see anything fall out of the sky?
Asking others what they saw.
I would normally discount it as nothing. However, seeing as one of my partners said they saw it too, only reason I'm actually investigating it further.
That investigation turning up no concrete answers as of Wednesday. Whatever or whoever fell into that.
If you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
I know I'm not
alone. Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
Well, naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
Trust me, I'm from the government.
Yeah. The fact of the matter that now it's okay to talk about it, A, makes aliens super uncool. because it was cool when, the government denied it. And now that they're admitting it, it's like your parents admitting like, yeah, it's totally, yeah, I don't care anymore. Because that just means it's part of a cover up or a conspiracy or something else that's used to completely distract and keep you. Oh yeah, I saw this 8-foot guy running around. All right, you know what? That sounds exactly like Signs. Like when they had the green alien walking behind the people at the birthday party and like, oh look, there it is. It just feels like all of this is the same thing.
On top of that, anytime someone has anything go down, a cop in the room, argument starts going on. Somebody walks in the door like a celebrity or somebody. What does everybody immediately do? They pick up the phone, they hit the record thing, they start videoing, and they're a reporter. Now all of a sudden nobody has any photos. Apparently it just doesn't work. Oh, I got memory. I just didn't reach for it. Call me. Bring out the evidence. Where is anything? There's no photos. The best meme out there was the Will Smith enemy of the state meme. He's looking up, and you got clear HD, as the one guy said. We did this a couple months ago. They have from the balloon days, the spy balloon. They have other satellites that can read the back of a quarter on the ground from space in HD. Yet we have, what is it? The best photo you have of a UFO looks like something from a 1980s camera.
It's all fuzzy.
Yeah, they're always fuzzy, all of them. What's also really interesting about this is the fact, like, okay, so their craft crashed. They somehow survived, ended up in some Mexican's backyard because they smelled the tamales, and then they escaped, and no one has seen a 10-foot creature since. Come on, I mean, here's my thing. Even according. This has always been my thing about aliens.
You know why, Fwaz? Because they're hanging out at WNBA games.
That's a good one. Yeah, with Brittany, right?
She's just going back to her home planet, man.
Yeah, here's my thing. Even if we take, which I don't, even if we take their understanding of how the universe looks, let's say the nearest galaxy is 1 million light years away. Let's say aliens even figured out how to build a spaceship at the speed of light, found a way to bend the universe, go through a wormhole to get over here, provided that they haven't died in the last 100,000 years that they've been traveling to get to this planet, and they'll fly around for a second, and then they'll go right back. That's what they've always done, and every single time we see them, it's in this really fuzzy 1960s camcorder, and it never advances.
In $1 trillion plane.
Exactly. To me, it clearly it's the next deception. It's going to be COVID part 2, and the fact that you have a whistleblower, quote unquote whistleblower, that goes against the federal government, which pretty much tells the media what to do, is sitting on a primetime media and giving us all this information that we've been lied to. It's a bunch of baloney. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. It's another deception. Like I said, towards the end, deception will be so great, even the elite will be deceived.
Yep, absolutely.
All you have to do is how to fake it.
I mean, also the emergence of aliens now just reinforces Trump's Space Force. So we got to spend money on the Space Force so the aliens can be fought back, and just more money for the military industrial complex to be spent on, because we have to shore up this one now, right? We have to shore up this one now that we've confirmed that this is real. And the fact is, it's just so dumb. It's just so dumb at this point.
I can't believe people like Matt Walsh fall for it. I mean, I didn't know he was that big of an alien guy.
Yeah, that's just not. I mean, we all know my opinions on Walsh. He's fine, but dude, maybe that's part of the deal being on the Daily Wire. You gotta go with these kind of things to help keep the deception. He gets to do the "What Is a Woman" thing. Great documentary, blah blah blah. I'm not gonna say anything bad about that. But at the same time, you got to say that. Now you got to push the alien thing.
Yeah, I mean, also, if you don't mind me saying, like, think about this. You tell people there's this great disease out there that if you catch it, your grandma might die. People will stay home, and until they figure out this is all a hoax, right? And they tell people stay home because you might hurt the climate. They're like, it's not a good reason enough. But now you could come out saying, you better stay home. There's an aircraft up there that can zap you and abduct your children.
They want some tamales.
It wants us some tamales. I'm telling you, this thing is getting more comical as we go. And the people that actually buy this stuff are the people who say that they're intellectually honest. It's laughable.
Yeah. I just think it's absolutely stupid. That's everybody wants to talk about the alien thing, and no, aliens are demons. Let's just get that out of the way. The aliens are demons. Let's don't try to put anything else on that.
At least there's some pushback. Like I think Michael Knowles isn't a big. He doesn't subscribe to this, but it just shows somebody like Matt that, man, just one of those guys that did good thing with the What Is a Woman, and it's just completely just lay an egg when it comes to something like this. But yet, he just I don't know, just it's a distraction. But it'll be all over the news again. It's leading headlines. What else is going on?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the debt crisis, which is going to be pushed off to 2025 after Biden gets reelected, and say goodbye.
There you go. There you go, man. It's definitely one of those issues there. Speaking of which, we have we can finish out talking about all of the other people that want to apparently get beat by Trump in the next primary that is coming up. We have a list of people that
New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is expected to officially jump into the 2024 presidential race. The former Trump ally is set to host a town hall event in the early voting state of New Hampshire tonight. Three sources familiar with his plans say he'll make the big announcement there and take questions from voters in the audience, as one does in New Hampshire. Now, Christie is jumping into an already very crowded field of GOP candidates one day before we expect Vice President Mike Pence to announce his own White House bid. CNN's Omar Jimenez is live outside Manchester, New Hampshire, colloquially known as Match Vegas this morning. Omar, I covered former Governor Christie's 2016 campaign. We spent a lot of time in New Hampshire, so get comfortable there. It's a wonderful place. Why is this time different? What's his theory of the case this time around?
Well, look, at this time, and look, I'm not going to pretend I can keep up with Phil Mattingly, but I'm going to do my best this time around.
Everybody should be able to keep up with Chris Christie.
We need a leader who's clearly focused on three things: economy, energy, and national security.
And aliens.
And that is why today I'm officially announcing I'm running for the President of the United States of America.
Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Cue the girl.
Let me be the first to introduce you to the next President of the United States, Mike Pence.
That's going to be his largest voting block.
Might be fair to ask why I'm challenging my former running mate.
Money.
I say from my heart.
You got to talk too, buddy.
With the promise that I made to the American people, to Almighty God. And it ends with...
He went Protestant because he does that dramatic pause all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Different visions for the future of our nation and our party. January 6th was a tragic day in the life of our nation. But thanks to the courage of law enforcement, violence was quelled, and we reconvened the Congress the very same day. We can treat each other with kindness and respect, even when we disagree. We know how to be good neighbors. That's not too much to ask.
You got to preach on Sundays.
But sadly, it's clear that neither Joe Biden or Donald Trump share this belief. And neither of them intend to even try to bring our country together. But I believe it's not just about civility. To craft real solutions to the monumental challenges the American people are facing at home.
Oh, he's got the whole finger thumb thing going.
We need leaders who will lead with respect for every American.
The only one everybody wants to see.
Oh, you got one.
He's got his VR headset. John coming back with us. The only reason anybody wants to see Pence on the same running is because they want to see him on the same stage with Trump. I think Lou said it best. We want to see Trump on the same stage with Mike Pence and just absolutely get, disemboweled on stage by Trump. That's really the only thing. Chris Christie, that I think he's just doing it for book deals or trying to get a spot on a TV network or something like that. Whoever the first guy was, I guess, so we know who that guy is. So because I never heard of him, but it's interesting. The idea, and I'll throw it to John coming up to us from the moon with his headset. Let's be real. The only reason Christie, Pence, all these people are being tossed in there is to drain votes from DeSantis.
Yeah, probably so. And it's, also Trump brings publicity. So, if you're trying to sell some books to bring in a few extra $100,000 for these guys, because they're trying to get probably the big deals from Simon & Schuster and others like that, then, hey, any race that Trump is in is going to drum up some interest, and somebody's at least going to have to buy your book to refute all the crazy stuff you say in it. So, I sympathize with their drifter attitude there, but I mean, who in their right mind would? It's either going to be between obviously Trump or DeSantis. So it's clearly just a ploy to try to drum up some interest for their stuff. So yeah, kind of par for the course.
Yeah, absolutely. Flaws. I mean, are the political, obviously primary season is a money-making season for a sect of people in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
And when everybody's saying it's Trump and DeSantis and that's it, there's a lot of people who aren't going to be working, which is why they're probably whispering to Pence and to Christie and to Cornel West, who just announced as well, hey, you put your name out there. Nikki Haley, she's running around talking about, she's going to repeal gun-free zones and red flag laws and all this stuff. There's a lot of money out there, and I guess you can see the greed in it, Flaws, because everybody knows it's those two. It's the two horses in this race. Nobody expects Chris Christie to come out of nowhere. He's run 3 times. Well, he hasn't run anywhere. He's been in the race 3 times, and he's never done well. So why would the 4th time be a charm? It's just the same. It's like head coaches in sports.
Oh, right? Let's get West before Fawaz go. Here's West.
Okay.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter into quest for truth.
Is The Rock in charge of the People's Party?
I enter into quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life.
Yep.
I come from a tradition where.
Yeah, so you got a lot of money out there, Fwaz. They have to get after it.
Yeah, it looked like the long lost brother of Colonel selling Kentucky Fried Chicken. Man, I don't know. I think when it comes to, obviously they're in it for the money because the primary season is a lot of money there. They can fundraise and they can funnel some of that money. But they're also in on it for the possibility of gaining some cabinet position. And that because Christie wanted a major cabinet position. I think he wanted in 2016, he wanted the vice presidency. When Trump didn't give it to him, he attacked him. The only thing I see Chris Christie running to is the buffet. But if we're talking about why it's so crowded, because in 2016 it was crowded because you didn't know, like Trump didn't really want to wait with it until later on. But right now, he's such the highly favored among debates. When I say debates, I'm talking about the so-called conservatives. I don't even think like head to head on almost every single state. He's blowing DeSantis out of the water in Florida, for God's sakes. And DeSantis is loved in Florida. It goes to show you how much influence Donald Trump has on the current base. He's completely flipped the Republican Party into what he calls the MAGA movement. The only reason what I would think that these guys are running is, okay, number one, of course, we talked about money and power and prestige, them being narcissists. But there's a possibility that they might have some information that we don't have because they're in on the elite group, that Donald Trump is not going to be able to run because of some indictment or something that's going to stop him from running. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest with you. I don't know if the other side of the DOJ and those guys really want that type of fight. I mean, what do you do with 80 million people who really want Donald Trump to be president? Like, you can't just, you can't just deal with them by ignoring them. So my question is, do they have any information that they think, because a lot of these people, they're just going to listen to their advisors. I mean, that's what happened to DeSantis. His advisors were saying, look, we have some polling numbers, you might have a chance. And then he comes out and announces it was a nightmare. Next thing you know, his polling numbers start going down. He didn't get that tick, the uptick that he needed after his announcement to kind of gain on Trump. This is going to be Trump and Biden again. And of course, whoever they decide to put in, will be put in. It could be Trump again to tip the scale, so that way we can continue pushing on their agenda. But yeah, at the very end, I'm gonna take a playbook from Steve. Who cares? Does it matter who the president of Washington is or the president of the United States is? Does it really matter at the end of the day? I'm trying to figure out, the governor of Kentucky here, because it's an off election season, and it's this November. So I'm trying to figure, I'm trying to get as many people. The guy that we have running against Bashir is not great. It's Cameron is his name. He's an understudy for McConnell, but he's better than Bashir. So the fact that we have a super majority in the House and Senate, very conservative, Kentucky is a great state to live in. We want to keep it that way. So I want to make sure we put the right person in to keep it that way. But what do I care what they do in Washington? Real solutions for the American people? Mike Pence, what are you going to do that Donald Trump didn't or couldn't do? Give me a break.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Steve.
Here's my sleeper.
I can give you a Democratic choice right now that is unbeatable. Nobody will beat this person. Nobody. Michelle Obama. She'd win by a landslide. 99% of the female population in this country will vote for her.
He is 100% right. I mentioned that a couple months ago. If she gets on the ticket, you're going to have the Obamas for 8 years after that. And I got a feeling Biden might win this thing again. He'll get reelected. And then you'll have Michelle for 8 years after that. She's going to run. There's no chance that she's not going to do it. She's the #1 podcast, I think. She's all over the place. People love the Obamas. She runs. She might just come out in July or August and come out. She's going to have 100% of the vote. You're not even going to have Trump. Forget about the Trump DeSantis thing. Even though there's really no. Yeah, it's not like WWF on that one. It's Trump without a bid, and it's Trump and Biden in the final swing throwdown for. That's what you get in this great democracy. 2 people. You call this land a country of 360 million. You get pick 2 people. That's a smart way to do things, isn't it? But yeah, as Enoch said, it doesn't matter. It goes back to The Rock. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't. Who's in charge of DC? They're supposed to have limited, 18 enumerated powers for the entire federal government, and the president is supposed to even have less. He's only supposed to do a couple things. Overseas trade. And we're talking not writing laws. The executive order idea is an abuse that's been started before Bush. Bush even did it worse. Obama did it because, hey, that guy did it. It's okay. He did it more. Trump did it because it's okay when we do it. Or conservatives never cared about that. Biden doing the same thing. It's laws by pen. So until people get that through their minds, that's not a good thing. Like right now, they're trying to do something about the weapons ban, and I know Gruesome News was trying to call a convention to introduce the 28th Amendment to ban X, Y, Z. You can do that at the state level. And he probably knows
done all that. California has done all that.
And nothing's worked out there. He's acting like, oh, look at all these mass shootings. You think it's peace and tranquility in California? Nah, not at all. I mean, Rick's been in an argument with this one priest in Atlanta who's talking about how, you got to get rid of the weapon. He's a Chicago guy. What happened over Memorial Day weekend? It was like 80 shootings or something like that in the most gun, taken away place in the continental United States. So again, it goes back to our Lincolnian mind. We got to eradicate that from our heads, that the election of your elected king is meaningless, should be meaningless. And just like SCOTUS, it should be meaningless. Now, all of a sudden, Congress is the legislative power is the weakest of all three branches. It's judicial and executive right up there, and Congress is at the bottom. They should be on the top of those two, and executive should be just like how with the idea of if it's not constitutional, you veto it. That's the vote you take, which Pence brings up. I'm going to stick with the Constitution. Oh, stop lying. Nobody is James Claiborne a decade or two ago, 15 years maybe. He was on, I think he was on Judge Knapp or something, because to judge, nothing we do is constitutional. Everything we do is like, literally, and what do people want? What are you going to do for me? What are you going to do? I'm going to do this. Hear every speech. I'm going to do. You know what I want to see the president do? Go play golf. Shut up. Go play golf. Get out of my life. Don't. And that's one thing about Newsom. What is that mindset? It's that Yankee Puritan idea. I need you to live like me. I want to control your life. He's talking about Florida and how far of a drive is it? A flight, just to get from Florida. It's that mindset. I need to control everybody. And again, we brought this up before. How many people in Kentucky? How many people in Texas? How many people I know North Carolina, South Carolina go, you know what? What is people in New York doing? I need to make them live like me. Nobody thinks that way, except for the Puritan Yankee idea. I need to make them think like me. And we get in that mindset. I want, yes. Do we want everybody to convert? Yes. How do we go about doing that? Do we force it? Do we pop somebody on top of that? No. First, just like I just did an interview with the lady down at St. Augustine talking about the Florida martyrs. Incredible stories. How many people know about that? And what did they do to convert those people? Guess what? They didn't come off and slam books on top of their heads. They loved them and ended up converting them. And they like that. The Smith with the Indians. All these guys during those days. And it was government interference that destroyed all that stuff because they wanted it our way. We're going to do it our way. What are we doing in Ukraine? We're making everything. We're destroying it. We're killing people over there because that's what we want. Everything that goes on from D.C. is about control, power. Brian McClanahan had a great video on this. Talked about power. That was the main thing you want. Why did Lincoln come down to destroy the South? Power. He wanted to keep the Union together no matter what the cost, even though it didn't do anything to the Union. These people wanted to just be left alone. And even Jefferson Davis saying, guys, if you want, he's telling Europe, England, if you want us to get rid of this, it's gone anyways. We were getting rid of it anyway. You want us to end it now? We'll get rid of it right now. Please help us. It's all about power, and that's what everybody that wants to be president. Nobody in their right mind goes, you know what? I want to be president because I'm going to fix everything. What's that P word that we're dealing with right now?
I was about to say
nobody in their right mind. That's the order of the Cincinnatus. Who was that? There was the Cincinnatus out of Rome. He was asked by the people to run, and when he got done, he didn't want to do it. He was asked to do it. They basically gave him the power, and he gave it back and went back to farming. Ain't none of these guys had the humility to do that. And that would be maybe back in the day when, like I said before, Washington gave up 2 terms. He did it and went back. J.Q. Adams, he became president, and then he went to the Congress. And you don't see anybody in D.C. doing that. You're not going to see Pence ever running for senator or anything. You see Mitt for Brains because he wants to stay in power somewhat. Mitt for Brains may run, who knows. Mitt Romney, for those not knowing who I'm talking about. But yeah, all these guys want is power and control. Be the elected king. I'm going to rule, get my photos up there. If you want to do a change, like Fawaz said, and I've been talking about before, run for governor, run for Houston, like Derek Bruce. I've talked about at the beginning. You're not going to get on TV. You're not going to get on Fox. You're not going to get on, but you could change a lot of things. It's, just like a Carmelite or somebody. No one talks about a Carmelite or somebody that enters religious life or silence, or, I'm breaking away from all this. I'm just going to be a hermit. They don't make the news, but they're very effective in the spiritual realm and can do a lot of things for good. But yeah, wanting to do that, I'm going to go do this. That's a different kind of person.
Absolutely. All right. So we've covered everything pretty well, top to bottom. We've covered all the stuff that we wanted to get to today. So it is time for Saint of the Week of the Cry Room. Fwaz, up first.
Yeah, thanks. Just really quickly, if you don't mind me responding to Stephen A. Smith.
Yep, get it.
Stephen A. Smith, dude, why would Michelle Obama run and go through all of the stuff that they have to do when the Obamas are running everything from the background in the comfort of their own couch? Anyways, my saint of the week is going to be Georgia. The president, is the president, what do you want to call her, of Italy. She launched a campaign to Family Pride Month, natural family, domestic family, which is the foundation of all society, which should be promoted, respected at all times. So that's my saint of the week. Obviously, my cry room is going to be the entire organization of the Padres for obvious reasons.
All right. Yeah, obvious reasons.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dodgers. Forgive me.
Yeah, I mean, all the MLB teams are doing it. So at this point, they all belong there. Sure. Excellent. Mr. Cunningham.
Schilling had a great line. If you watch his, I posted it yesterday, but he's had a great line. He goes, you know what? The LA Dodgers decided that helping 8 weirdos was more important than taking care of their million Catholic fans that actually go to the games. Because those people that dress like that don't go to Dodger games. But you're basically telling season ticket holders that are Catholics, go pound sand, we're doing this, we're going to laugh in your face. It's insane. And they got to applaud at the California state legislature. You see that?
Yeah, that was awful.
Thanks to Wiener out there, Scott Wiener. He's a pedophile as you can. Anyways, I'll go with my cry room to the people of Chicago. I'll bring Stephen A. for another one because he had a great rant about this topic.
Obama.
Hit the wrong button. My apologies. Let me try that one more time. Un momento, por favor.
Look at ourselves when it comes to black people being killed in the streets of America. I don't even want to get into what happened in Chicago, but I have no choice. This past Memorial Day weekend, from Friday to Monday, at least 53 people were shot, 11 fatally, according to police. If one black person was killed by the police, we'd raise holy hell, and in some cases, there'd be riots in the streets.
He calls out the media and things like that, which they deserve to be called out. So he put the cry room for the NBA, LeBron, where are you at on that? People, just anybody that promotes BLM and things like that, and they turn away, look away. Rick knows that. He deals with that with a lot of people. My saint of the week, I'm going to go with this happened a couple weeks ago. It's the Boston Celtics head coach.
The last 48 hours to keep yourself away from just being consumed with this? Are you watching different movies?
Honestly, I met 3 girls under the age of 21 with terminal cancer. And I thought I was helping them by talking to them, and they were helping me. And so having an understanding about what life is really all about and watching a girl dying and smiling and enjoying her life, that's what it's really all about, and having that faith. The other thing is you always hear people, give glory to God and say thank you when they're holding a trophy. But you never really hear it in times like this. And so for me, it's an opportunity to just sit right where I'm at and just be faithful. That's what it's about.
Yeah. And he brings up that part about it. You'd see it. If you hit a home run, you're pointing. You get a touchdown, you're pointing. Kick a field goal, you're pointing. No one ever points if you miss the field goal or you drop an incomplete pass or you lose the game. You don't go, thanks be to God. No, it's a mindset we don't think about. Like God's up there going, I got 5 on the Dodgers right now. I'm doing this. I'm having some kind of bet. Or, there's a movie For the Love of the Game when Kevin Costner stands there and goes, at the end, he does a prayer. He goes, I never included you. Talk to God. I never included you in a game because I thought it was silly. And yes, it is in a sense silly. Hey, help me get this strike or whatever. That's on you. And he basically asks, please let this pain go away. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, how many people become superstitious? Oh, superstition is okay when we do it in the NFL. We'll wear our lucky underwear or shoes in the right spot. They call us Catholics superstitious when they do. I'm not going to walk this way. I'm going to do this. I'm going to wear the same jersey over and over again without washing it. That's the culture we live in. We're a pagan nation that pretends we're Christian. Oh, by the way, Pat Robertson died today. May his soul rest in peace. Go, pray for his eternal soul.
Yep. All right. So my cry room is Ellen Page, who has a book coming out, but decided to go the Jesse Smollett route and said that in the middle of West Hollywood, I think she was in California, and apparently some dude said that they were gonna quote bash them and chase them into the storeroom. Whatever. She went Jesse Smollett, and pray for her too, because she's got severe mental illness and some everybody that deals with that kind of stuff. So for her, and then for my saint of the week, it's the Martyrs Walk, martyrswalk.com. That event's coming up in August. If you are interested, check it out, themartyrswalk.com. All right, one more thing, Steve.
Yeah, I saw a couple of people putting a text about Father Jackson. I asked a friend of mine that's in close with the family what's going on, because I've been busy all day doing other things. I'm not on social media scanning like many other people are. And apparently he did plead guilty to receipt. He will be sentenced on September 11th, a minimum of 5 years prison he is facing. So that's all we know. All I know, that's everything else would be speculation at this point. And that's really all I'm going to say. I'm not going to put personal opinions or anything like that in.
All right. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for hanging out with us on News from the Pew. Please like, subscribe, and share the News from the Pew. I hope you all have a great week. We'll see you next time. God bless, and Viva Cristo Rey.